This writer is a Las Vegas local who loves spending her free time exploring the city she calls home. Her work has appeared in Electric Literature, Plowshares Online, and Chicago Review of Books. Now that she has completed her MA thesis, she'll be continuing her studies as a Ph.D. candidate. Let's welcome Kayla Dean.
Hi. I'd just like to say I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really grateful to be included. And this thing that I'm going to read is adapted from my thesis. I wrote about Virginia Woolf and the female walker, so I kind of took some of the themes and reimagined it in this selection. What we often think of as untranslatable simply refers to that which we don't have words for. Perhaps it's hapax legomenon, the one-time appearance of a word in a particular language. More likely, the concept is well traced in a language besides our own. The principles surrounding walking in academia don't always come from English. Part of their elusiveness stems from the fact that we don't have these equivalent concepts. We often get close but can't quite reach for what's beyond our experience. I first encountered the concept of derive on Tumblr, a near ubiquitous land of internet wandering, a topology of its own. A realm where you can find anything, a dark internet hole or a positive place of exploration. I follow a blog called WordStuck, a self-hosted Tumblr site run by a medical technologist in the Philippines. He gathered a community of thousands who want to understand and define concepts missing from their own languages. This is his entry for the term first defined by Debord. Derive, a spontaneous journey on which the subtle aesthetic contours of the landscape and architecture subconsciously attract and move the traveler who encounters an entirely new, authentic experience. It appears in white text, the background of the picture a stereotypical stock photo of a Paris street, which appealed to the wanderluster in me who has never left the country but believes it is possible to experience this level of engagement with a city. Derive is all about being comfortable with getting lost, with not knowing where you're going in a city. It exposes how often we plan so much of where we go. This got me thinking about what makes a city and who is granted the right to walk the streets without fear. Sennett theorizes that a city should be a place where strangers meet, a public realm where life happens. This wouldn't be possible without the walker, and it suggests a way in which we often fail to design places to make interactions possible. Instead, we can be so stubbornly linear, believing that we have to be on a prescribed path. Virginia Woolf writes in modern fiction that life is not a series of gig lamps symmetrically arranged. Life is a luminous halo, a semi-transparent envelope surrounding us from the beginning of consciousness to the end. I like what Woolf gets at so literally when she talks about streetlights. Although roads have linear elements, this doesn't mean that our life must form around them merely because we use them to get where we need to. In one of my favorite M83 songs, the lyrics say that the city is my church. It wraps me in the sparkling twilight. It would be all too easy to misinterpret the line. Maybe, to the right person, the line would feel wrong. Shouldn't church be your church? The genius of Midnight City is the disembodiment of physical space evoked by a single word, transposed into the atomic makeup of a city just as evening falls. The word church would usually evoke a construction, a specific place discoverable by map. Everyone's mental image of church looks slightly different, but Midnight City disbands its usual atoms into a larger cartographic footprint. I haven't walked many of the great cities of the world. I can't think of walks in Los Angeles and downtown Las Vegas. To me, these places and their surroundings are anything but a church. My grandparents live in a small town just north of Atlanta that's among the most walkable places I've ever been. It's a small town, but much of what I think about walking I learned while tracing the paths around the lake and pointing out deer among the foliage. Their knowing eye is impossible to miss even on the foggiest of days. A railroad track runs through Main Street with red brick buildings with heavy wooden doors old enough to be on the National Historic Registry. Among the oldest house on the streets is Serendipity House. It's not as old as Mr. Lemon's house. It's a store, but it's a 5-minute walk from Robinson Street. A left and 2 rights takes me there. No matter what time of year we visit, there are always a cluster of Christmas trees in the room on the 2nd floor, loaded with half-price kitsch ornaments. I almost always buy something. I'm not sure if it's because I can't face the retired teacher who asks me about my grandparents without at least walking up the wooden staircase that echoes with each step, or sampling the jam in the old kitchen. Since my earliest visits, my parents have tried to prepare me that this time might be the last time. This may be the last time that I visit this place. That's part of the reason why my walks to Main Street take on a new importance the older that I get. If I move aside the sash in the front window of Serendipity, I can vaguely sight the church across the track, parallel to the manicured funeral home on our side. Although I've only recently encountered it, the church is an emblem, a stand-in for the past that hovers over this place. This time I run across the road, across the tracks, a break not meant for pedestrians. Clouds gather, but I ignore them and approach the oak front door, next to which stands a plaque identifying this church as 170 years old. Although frames of its simple pointed windows remain alongside a tower that can only be described as traditional, the stained glass is broken in most of the panes. The foot-long space is boarded over with lumber. I'm almost sad to see the reds, yellows, blues, and greens, faded and dingy, cracks sneaking along their panes. It's only a matter of time before they fall and shatter. Several cracks remain unshuttered, and I can't help but wonder how thin the glass really is. In Henderson, there's a 2-mile radius in which there is 102 churches. Anecdotally, it's been claimed that Las Vegas has more churches than any city in America. And that's odd in the sense that we've unintentionally inverted the concept of church to expand its borders into the unlikeliest of places. This is in its own way a disembodiment. Still, every time I walk a new place, Midnight Sydney City and its lyrics is always on my mind. Even when I'm not in a city, somehow this song follows me everywhere I go. Strangely enough, the connection the lyrics make between walking and religious experience is mirrored in the architectural qualities of old churches, where ambulatories, the covered passages surrounding a cloister, make a space for walking. The word itself, ambulatory, has its roots in walking. The city as church is not a metaphor that will work for everyone, but I find in this metaphor that the city does not become a holy place, nor would I consider it a physical refuge. But while cities aren't always an ideal meeting place for strangers, walking can be a mental refuge from stagnation. Even when Derive feels impossible, the least we can do is stop following the light posts on the side of the road in perfect order, at least for a moment. Thank you.